Hello friends, this is the next question from ancient history in mains history part from 2024 mains questions. So what is the question? Estimate the contribution of Pallavas of Kanchi. So we need to discuss about the Pallavas of Kanchi for the development of art and literature only, not their contribution to any other aspects, only to art and literature. What was their contribution? We just need to understand. So what is the first historical introduction we need to write about the Pallavas? So we need to introduce them. So in the part of historical introduction, first one, the Pallavas ruled from Kanchi as their capital city in the northern part of present day Tamil Nadu from 4th century to 9th century CE or AD. So they ruled in this particular period of time the northern part of Tamil Nadu, and their main contributions, when it comes to the main content, their main contributions were two. First one, they were the earliest temple builders in South India, south of the Vindhyas. When I mention South India, I am not referring only to the parts of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu or Kerala and Karnataka, but the entire Deccan region also. So in this region, they were the first temple builders, because the temple construction was a very important part of architecture among the Hindu rulers. Whereas the rulers who patronized Buddhism, either Mahayana Buddhism or Hinayana Buddhism, like Ashoka or Kushans or Indo-Greeks, they contributed to Buddhist architecture by laying pillars or stupas, dedicating rock-cut caves for the lodging of the Buddhist monks. The Hindu emperors who patronized Vedic religion, Vedic rituals, who patronized the Brahmins, who spread and used Sanskrit as their court language, they contributed to the Aryan Vedic religion by building temples. So temple architecture was the most important form of architecture for the Vedic rulers who patronized the Vedic religion. They were the first temple builders. As a matter of fact, Guptas were the first temple builders in North India, Aryavarta. So North India is called Aryavarta, south of the Vindhyas is called Dakshinapada. In the Dakshinapada, south of the Vindhyas, south of the Narmada river, they were the first temple builders in India. The first form of temples were, there were three kinds of temples which were built. There were three types of temples. The first form of temples ever built were rock cut or cave temples. Rock cut temples or cave temples, because in the earliest time it was the most easiest form. Okay, because the caves were already in existence, these caves were facilitated to incorporate a temple inside. Okay, so that's and rock cut temples were the next form. They were also the earliest form, but a bit difficult than the cave temples to be built. The second form of temple building was the construction, the temples which were constructed, like the Rajarajeshwari temple or Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple or Mathura Meenakshi temple or Ellora's Kailashnath temple. So these temples, Ellora's Kailashnath temple belonged to the rock cut temple, but the other temples, Rajarajeshwari temple or Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, Mathura Meenakshi temple, and all these Hajara Rama temple or others, they were all belonging to this category of constructed temples, which technology or which designs were made in the later parts. But in the earlier parts, when the Pallavas were ruling, these temple building style was not in existence. Only the rock cut or cave temples were in existence. So Pallavas ruled between 4th century to 9th century CE. Especially the most important rock cut temples they built. The most important rock cut temples or the temples that were built, cave temples that were built were Mahendravadi cave temples, which were built during the time of Mahendravarman, who was the most important, the first most important ruler of the Pallavas. Along with these temples, they also built structured temples or constructed temples in the shore temples, especially the shore temple which were built in Mamallapuram or Mahabalipuram was the example for the built temples or constructed temples. And these temples were constructed on the shore of the Bay of Bengal in the Mamallapuram, dedicated to the Pandavas. They were also called Pandava chariots, Pandava temples. And in these temples only, there was another very important temple that was constructed, which was called the Descent of Ganges. The Descent of the Ganges was also a very famous temple, and Arjuna's penance. So Arjuna, because of some reasons, because of the disturbing of privacy between his brother and his wife, brother's wife, he disturbed the privacy. So he was given a punishment and he was forced to offer some penance. So based on that theme of the story, Arjuna's penance was also another beautiful statue, another beautiful image that was constructed in these temples. So when it comes to Pallavas' contribution to the temple building and architecture, this is the answer. Then what is Pallavas' contribution to literature? So Pallavas were the earliest of the rulers of Dakshinapatha to patronize Sanskrit. So Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit as a language or Sanskritic culture was mainly associated with Vedic religion. So Vedic religion was associated with the performance of Vedic rituals and sacrifices. Whenever we use the word Vedic, we refer this in the context of the spread of Vedic rituals, especially three kinds of sacrifices: Ashwamedha, Rajasuya, and Vajapeya. These three sacrifices gave legitimacy to any Hindu ruler who followed the Vedic customs. And Vedic also refers to not only Vedic rituals, but also, so Vedas were mainly composed in Sanskrit. So the patronizing of Sanskrit literature and poets. That's another important aspect of patronizing the Vedic customs. So the Vedic literature also refers to the performance of or the spread of the Vedic scriptures. The Vedic scriptures, Vedas, Upanishads, and later they were followed by the Puranas, and the restructuring of society according to the scriptural injunctions. That is the meaning of Vedic. So as far as the Pallavas are concerned, which is the main aspect of our answer, so Pallavas were the first people who attempted to spread Vedic culture, either Vedic rituals or Sanskrit literature, or restructuring society on the basis of the Vedic scriptures. Okay, so that was the attempt made by the Pallavas, and in this particular situation, we just need to write one or two sentences about it, but later we need to focus more on the literature part. What was their contribution to the literature? They patronized Sanskrit literature, and Mahendravarman, the first person who is credited with writing of the first Sanskrit play by any ruler in South India. And they not only patronized Sanskrit literature, they also patronized, during their time, the Tamil literature also reached its peak, because during their time, in the later part of 7th century, a new form of religious movement emerged in the Tamil land, called Bhakti movement. So in this Bhakti movement, two kinds of Bhakti poets wrote Bhakti literature, or songs of praise, songs of devotion, and songs of love. So for their deities. So especially for Shiva, these songs were written by the Shiva's devotees called Nayanars. They used Tamil language. And also for Vishnu. So these songs of love, devotion, and praise were written by Alvars. Alvars and Nayanars were Bhakti poets who dedicated their devotion to two deities. So they used the Tamil language in order to compose their works, and these works composed by the Alvars and Nayanars in praise of their, in love of their, in devotion of their respective deities was inherited even during this time. So in the Shiva temples and the Vaishnavite temples dedicated to Vishnu and his many avatars. So in these temples, the main method of performing rituals or pujas or other things were done mainly by using the Shastric formula established by Nayanars and Alvars. So that was also on the rise during the time of the Pallavas. So what we need to highlight in this particular manner, not only Sanskrit literature was propagated and spread as a elite language, or the language used by the educated sections and powerful sections in society, but also the native language called Tamil was also patronized mainly because of the contributions of great Bhakti saints called Alvars and Nayanars. So these religious literature was the first form of literature that was contributed to the glory, to the development of these languages in the beginning. First form of literature in any language developed in the native languages of South Indian people, either Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam or others, was the Bhakti literature. So this Bhakti literature was also very much patronized by the Pallavas in South India. So these are the two great contributions. First one, architecture, and then literature. So this is the answer to the question. Thank you very much.